Hello, and welcome to Sunburned. Albino plays the Ace Attorney Trilogy, episode 104, right? Yes, indeed. Dude, we're almost done. Or maybe we're not. I don't know how long this case is. Is it the last case? I'm not even sure about that either, but we're in the middle of some more Iris testimonies, so we're gonna get right into that. Other than walking over the bridge, there's no way to move the body. So I must have just gotten confused, I guess. Was the snow still falling, or had it stopped? Does it really matter that much? Or are you saying that there is a way to cross a burning bridge?
There is. You can fly. So it was just a misunderstanding, I see. This is a photo of Dusky Bridge after it burned down from the lightning blast. It was taken on the morning after the incident. It certainly was burned to a crisp, and one of the suspension wires even snapped. It's amazing the whole bridge didn't fall. Clearly, it would be impossible to carry a corpse across a bridge in this condition.
Dusky Bridge photo, okay. Unless I do something to discredit this testimony, it's going to be deemed as the truth. And Maya will be accused of murder.
Try it. I'm only going to say it one more time. It is only human to err, and only humans can spot the errors of our ways.
The more sense he makes, the less sense he makes.
All right, Mr. Wright, please begin your final cross-examination.
All right. I mean, they just gave us the photo, so, the photo is what we're gonna use somewhere. Other than walking over the bridge, there's no way to move the body. Oh yeah? What about his drawing? I mean, I'm sure we're not gonna actually do that, but let's press everything first. Yes, but if the snow had already stopped when the incident took place, I couldn't have crossed the bridge, naturally. But I think it's just like Mr. Godot said. The body did make it across somehow. So I must have just gotten confused, okay? But you seemed to be quite sure of yourself when you gave your testimony. You said you were sure the snow had already stopped. I'm terribly sorry. I was wrong. Does she really think an apology is going to get her off the hook? Was the snow still falling right at stop? Does it really matter that much? This is no joke! You're giving sworn testimony in a court of law! Well, Mr. Wright, let me ask you a question. Do you remember what the weather was like 1 week ago today?
Huh? Well, naturally, it was,
You see? It's not that easy to remember, is it? But if it had been some kind of a special day, I would have remembered. For example, it was pouring rain on the day of my elementary school graduation.
No one wants to hear about your childhood traumas, Trite.
What?
By the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. If you insist on obsessing over that one statement, let's see the proof. Show some evidence that the body somehow crossed the bridge while it was on fire.
I gotta try. Aha, it actually is gonna work. A dead body flying over a burning bridge. I wouldn't exactly rule out the possibility. What, was she catapulted or something?
What? Ha! You're saying it's possible. Don't make me laugh. The only thing that's possible about your claim is that it's been pulled out of thin air.
I don't know about that. In any case, we have a witness who did see it happen.
Preposterous! Who is it? Who is this witness?
I can't chicken out here. I've got to keep on the attack and go, go, go! Miss Elisa Donham's brilliant and highly gifted apprentice, Larice Donham.
Brilliant. Highly gifted.
Apprentice? Remember what he said in his testimony. That night he was at the Mountain Shack, Heavenly Hall, and that's when he witnessed the event. I think you've all seen this sketch before. It's an exact drawing of what he witnessed that night.
Are you serious? Today's not April Fool's Day, is it? Mr. Wright, are you seriously claiming that the victim flew through the air? And you're using this pathetic scribble to support your argument?
Uh-oh. The judge looks like he's about to blow a gasket.
Ha! Well, Trite, there's nowhere for you to hide now. Other than looking like it was drawn by a 6-year-old, does this sketch prove anything?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it does, and I'm going to prove it.
Listen, I know your tricks. You're trying to turn this whole thing upside down. If you're so eager to turn this case upside down, why not start with this sketch?
Upside down? Why did Godot say that?
Alright then, let's hear the defense's theory.
I'm sorry, turn the sketch upside down? What are we looking at then? If you turn it upside down... you would see a body falling underneath the bridge and landing in the river. Huh. I'm sorry. Let me look at this photo now. Are these suspension cables upside down? Is that what we're getting at here? But then why would he have drawn the picture upside down? That makes no sense at all. Anyway,
what exactly is this sketch trying to show?
I don't think old Whiskerface is going to forgive any more mistakes. Alright, Phoenix, look carefully and think it over. This sketch drawn by Laurice Donham is... exactly what happened. Of course the victim was flying through the air. You can see it right there in the sketch. Whoosh!
You know, you're starting to remind me of yesterday's witness.
What? That was the last thing I wanted to hear.
Do you have any evidence that the victim flew through the air? Just so you know, we haven't discovered a giant human catapult at the Inner Temple yet.
Ah, see, attitude. Ugh, I wish they had.
Even if you're a lousy lawyer, at least you're 1 cup's worth of entertainment. I think we should skip the penalty this time.
Ugh. There must be some way, I just know it. There must be a way to use Larry's sketch to show the truth of what happened. The witness will now return to her testimony. Yes, Your Honor. I mean, it's not evidence of nothing, so it has to be the other thing, a complete contradiction. Something is obviously funny about this sketch.
I'm no art critic, but even I can see that.
No, that's not what I mean, Your Honor. Laurice Donham stated it over and over, that this sketch was exactly as he saw it. However, if we're to believe his testimony, then the sketch contradicts reality as we know it. It contradicts reality?
Ha! This is getting interesting. Looks like you're back to that finger-pointing thing again. Okay, Trite, so what exactly contradicts reality as we know it?
The woman flying through the air, obviously. This flying figure, naturally. After all, people haven't learned to fly yet. Or did I miss something? Mr. Wright, that answer just now, it was lethal. Wow.
Mr. Wright, after dragging us all the way to this point, that answer was embarrassing. It was so embarrassing, I'm actually blushing. Blushing only suits women, not the elderly. Anyway, what now? Alright, let's try pointing to something else then. One more chance. Turn this case upside down. Okay. I thought he was drawing it as... Okay, this is where I was confused. So he saw it upside down, I understand. I thought he, like, went up to the foot of the bridge and that's where he drew the picture. What contradicts reality are these suspension cables. It's this wire connected to the bridge. The wire? Ha! Is that the thing that contradicts reality? It is indeed. Then show us the reality it supposedly conflicts with. Show us something that will point out how the sketch contradicts reality. Alright, that will be the photo. That's a photo of Dusky Bridge, correct? Yes. Now compare the sketch and the photo for a minute. In the sketch, the wires appear to be above the guard wires. But on the actual Dusky Bridge, Jumping Jehoshaphat, the wires are below the guard wires. What? Order, order, order! This sketch is somewhat different than what's depicted in the photo. However, isn't it likely that the artist just saw it wrong? Or perhaps he just drew it wrong? Either way, it sounds like you're just wrong. With someone like Larice, I admit a mistake is a definite possibility. But then that begs the question, why did he make a mistake? What was the reason? Are you saying you know the answer to that? Listen, think back, alright? Remember what Larice was doing when he witnessed this event. He was at Heavenly Hall waiting for a lover that was never going to come. He waited, and finally he laid down. But then, lightning shoots from the sky and sets the bridge aflame. Now ponder what sort of position Larice must have been in at the time. He was lying on his back, which is why he remembered the scene the way he did. He was lying on his back? I can't see how it relates. But it does, Your Honor. That is the reason why the wires in the sketch go up instead of down. No way. Larice Donham witnessed the event while he was lying on his back face up. In other words, the scene that he saw was actually upside down. So then, this sketch should actually... I think you finally get it, Your Honor. The correct way to view Larice Donham's sketch is like this. This is how it should actually look. The victim's body wasn't flying above the bridge, it was actually swinging below. That's right, just like a pendulum. Ridiculous! Order. Order. Of all the things to say, a pendulum? The bridge was burning to a crisp. There was no way to get across it. But if the body had been found at the inner temple, it would have caused problems. This is where the criminal decided to take a gamble. They used the burning bridge to get the body across to the other side, and a pendulum was the only way to get it done. Let's think about this for a minute, shall we? Dusky Bridge is about 20 yards long, which means it's about that far from the inner temple to the opposite cliff. Yes, that sounds right. In order to cover that distance with a pendulum, you'd need a rope at least 10 yards long. To get a rope that long, you have to plan ahead. The lightning strike that night can only have been an accident, so it doesn't make sense that the culprit would have prepared the rope beforehand. So then, they didn't have to get the rope ready. The rope was already right in front of them. What? I'm saying that it was just a matter of using what was already there. In that case, Mr. Wright, please give us an explanation to support your theory. What makes you think the criminal had the rope on hand to create a pendulum?
would the Master's Talisman be it? What do you... Nope. Yeah, okay. I mean, it looks like it's a rope. Whatever. Fine. Whatever, man. Let's see here. Nothing here looks like a rope. The Dusky Bridge photo. And the meaning of this is, if you want to know where the rope came from, it's hanging right there in front of your glorious beard. Ah, this is one of the wires from the bridge. When the lightning struck the bridge and set it on fire, one of the suspension wires came loose from its anchor. The criminal didn't have any time to waste, so they tied the wire around Elisa Donham's body. I'm sorry, how would you make it come apart at the end so that it would actually let go at the end instead of just swinging back and forth? Because there was simply no other way to move the body. Ha! Mr. Godot. It seems that Mr. Godot is more focused on his coffee than answering my question. It seems that the odds of a rope being readily available were very high, so I suppose that it's not an impossibility after all. Possible or impossible? That's not the question we need to ask. There's only one question. Did that really happen? Trite. I wonder if you can prove what happened to us. Do you have any actual evidence that the body was swung over like a pendulum? It would explain why the staff was separated from the crystal sphere. Before I present my evidence, let me review what we know so far. According to this photo, one of the wires snapped. Looking at the map, we can see it's the one that was in front of the inner temple. So then what was the spot where that was the spot where the criminal... Yes, precisely. Now let us consider the body's movement by looking at the overhead map again. If the body was pushed from this point here, it would drop on the opposite bank at approximately this point. Did you say drop? Well, they must have failed to catch the body on the other bank. What? What makes you think something like that happened? Because I have evidence that suggests her body dropped some distance. What kind of evidence? Take a look at this autopsy report. It says here that her body fell about 10 feet after her death. 10 feet, huh? That's most likely the height difference between the two sides. The body overswung due to forward momentum, but then came loose and fell about 10 feet. And then, as a result of the landing impact, this crystal sphere was knocked loose. That's... Yes, this blood-stained amethyst crystal. It's the one that came off of Miss Elisa Donham's staff. And even more important is the place where this crystal sphere was found. Indeed. I believe it's already marked on this overhead map. The crystal was found... Ah! Precisely, Your Honor. In the very spot where the pendulum would arrive if given the right amount of speed. This explains your theory quite well, Mr. Wright. You have provided us with the way a body could have been moved that night. An impressive deduction, Mr. Wright. Most impressive. Mr. Wright! I thought this cold coffee might help cool you down. What is the meaning of this, Mr. Godot?
That was a dark and bitter guess that you made, Trite. But you forgot about one thing. Oh, and what would that be? The aroma. Huh? A coffee's most reliable accomplice is its deep and profound aroma. The rest of the court doesn't speak coffee-nese. Can you elaborate a bit more? If the criminal had sent the body to the other side like you say, then naturally there must have been an accomplice lying in wait to catch it. An accomplice? The criminal wasn't able to cross Dusky Bridge. So, who collected the body? What do you have to say about that, Trite? Ah, Mr. Godot is correct. This can't be the work of a single person. Well, Mr. Wright, you know what you must do.
Yes, Your Honor. The body couldn't have made it to Hazakura Temple without an accomplice.
Very well then. If you please, Mr. Wright. Who was the person that received the body on the Hazakura Temple side?
That would be whoever channeled Dahlia Hawthorne, which we're still not sure of, so I am actually just gonna say Dahlia Hawthorne.
Well, Mr. Godot, I'm sure you have something to say. That aroma just now. It smelled of sulfur. Perhaps it was your chances of winning rotting away?
Oh my god. How is it not her? Was it Iris? She did say that she helped with the plan. Yep. It can only be you, Sister Iris. Huh? But I don't see why you're so surprised. The only way to transport the body from Dusky Bridge is by snowmobile. But with her bad back, Sister Bikini could never pick up a body like that. You're the only one that could have managed it.
Trite, were you even listening to the witness's testimony? On the night of the crime, this little cutie pie was on cleanup duty in the Inner Temple Garden after the mother-daughter bloodbath.
I haven't forgotten, but have you, Mr. Godot? This witness was also seen at Hazakura Temple, desecrating the corpse of the victim.
Strange indeed. It's almost as if, on that night, the defendant was in two different places at the same time.
Sister Iris, let me ask you something. Why didn't you mention it when you first gave your testimony? Mention what? The pendulum, of course. Using this sketch drawn by an eyewitness, I have established how the body was moved using the burnt-out bridge, which means it's now a fact that this occurred, something you should have already known. No, I had no idea. I didn't know anything about a pendulum. But the body couldn't have been passed along to the other side without your help, so you should have known about it. In fact, it'd be impossible for you to be clueless about this whole thing, unless you're not really Iris to begin with. What? How can you say that, Mr. Wright?
What? What kind of nonsense is this? You're saying this witness isn't Iris of Hazakura Temple? Are you serious, Trite? You mean, this woman is...
There's no one besides Iris that could have received the corpse that night. Now I get it. Now I know why I've been sick to my stomach this whole trial. Why her whole demeanor changed so suddenly from yesterday. And why she's trying to pin this murder on Maya. The woman that's standing there at the witness stand, her real name is... Dude, you gotta be joking. I never thought I'd have to utter your name again, let alone see you. It's been a long time, Dahlia Hawthorne.
Hawthorne?
Sister Iris had a twin sister, and you're looking at her, Miss Dahlia Hawthorne.
That name rings some bells. Distant bells, but bells nonetheless. Ha! It's just your imagination, Gramps. This file contains all the relevant data about Dahlia Hawthorne. Oh yes, I remember now. That case, 5 years ago.
So what, did she dye her hair then? She had red hair.
My name is Dahlia Hawthorne. I just want to say, it's an honor for me to be here in your noble presence.
The honor is all mine!
No, the honor is all mine. But according to this, Dahlia Hawthorne is already dead. It says her execution was carried out last month. So what? Death has no meaning in this courtroom. What? Order! Order!
Wait a moment. How can you... My sister, she's already dead. What kind of...
You of all people should already understand. After all, the blood of the master of the Karain channeling technique flows within that body. The Karain channeling technique? Now where have I heard that? That's right, you're not Dahlia Hawthorne herself. You're the spirit of Dahlia currently inhabiting the body of a spirit medium. What an exciting story. Exciting, but quite impossible. You're asking us to buy that Dahlia Hawthorne just happened to be channeled by someone on the very night of the murder to a temple where her twin sister Iris was? Well, if you're going to put things that way, then yes. We're supposed to believe a coincidence like that just happens. Naturally, it was no coincidence. This whole thing was part of a plan from the very beginning. It's all written right here in these instructions.
What's that?
These instructions were written by your mother, Morgan Fay. And part of the plan called for Dahlia Hawthorne to be channeled. That night, there were 2 irises at Hazakura Temple. 2 of them. Even the time of the channeling was planned out. As soon as you hear the lights out bell, in other words, 10 p.m. However, Iris was seen before dinner time. That means the Iris that was at dinner was the real Iris. And the Iris who gave me this hood in the main hall was also the real Iris. Meaning that the Iris Sister Bikini saw at the inner temple was someone else dressed as her, namely one Dahlia Hawthorne. Do you even know what you're saying, Trite? This whole channeling the spirit of Dahlia Hawthorne business. Yes, it's true that you found plans that talk about it. However, there's one thing that's perfectly clear. The witness currently standing in the witness stand is the real Iris. What? Calm down and remember what you know about the night of the crime. After meeting Sister Bikini, the Dahlia Hawthorne that had been channeled would have been stranded at the inner temple due to the lightning strike. It was later that the body was moved by pendulum. That's right. Naturally, that would mean that the Iris that received the body was the real Iris. Are you with me so far? Yes. After being notified of what happened, the police came to Hazakura Temple's main hall. There, they found Iris in her room and arrested her. And ever since, she's been under police supervision at the detention center. Yes, I suppose. I can't deny any of that.
Phew. Thank goodness. It looks like he's finally convinced.
But something still seems off. Way off. I'm still not convinced that the Iris here is the same one from the other night. Ha! I suppose you're about to say something really ridiculous? Like, the real Iris and the spirit of Dahlia somehow switched places. Switched places? To be perfectly honest, there are still quite a few things I don't understand, but I do know that unless we confirm the witness's identity, we can't continue with this trial. Iris doesn't have the spiritual power needed to channel Dahlia, which means they must have switched places somewhere. Well, Mr. Wright, since the time she was arrested at Hazakura Temple, have there been any chances for Iris to switch places with Dahlia Hawthorne?
Ooh, when the earthquake happened.
Your Honor, I think there might have been one chance.
Oh, explain yourself.
Yesterday, for a few minutes, Iris's whereabouts were unknown.
Unknown? What do you mean?
What I mean is, there was a span of time in which Iris was able to move about freely, unsupervised.
Well, who was it? Who would give a murder suspect time to move about freely like that?
I'm sorry. I know you didn't mean to. It wasn't your fault. The person who gave Iris the chance to freely move about was...
This is Mr. Edgeworth, isn't it?
Your Honor, there was a fairly large earthquake yesterday, was there not?
An earthquake?
Yeah, earthquake! Oh my goodness, the inner temple, this kind of tremor might...
How could I have... She fled. She escaped. We went to the inner temple right away. And it's true, Iris was already there. However, they had already switched places by that point in time. When I arrived at the training hall, I was met by none other than Dahlia Hawthorne.
That's quite enough already, Mr. Wright. Now see here. No judge in his right mind would consider the idea of spirit channeling and...
Be quiet. It's been a long time, Mr. Judge.
That voice. Guess I'll have to ask again. Upon meeting a beautiful lady, always ask for her name and profession. That's one of my rules.
Dahlia Hawthorne. And my current profession? Permanently retired.
Ha! So you're not going to bother hiding your identity anymore, huh?
Why should I? After all, I'm dead. There's really nothing you can do to punish me.
What is going on here?
Dahlia Hawthorne. I never thought we'd meet again, and I never thought we'd meet like this. But this time, I'll end it. For her, and for myself. Ooh, you know, I would end it right here, but I'm not done. If this happened 10 minutes later, I would have been like, oh, that's gonna do it for this episode, but nope, we must keep going.
Now then, let's continue where we left off, shall we? Well, witness?
Yes, how can I help you, Mr. Judge?
Well, it seems that if we're to learn the truth, we'll need to hear your testimony.
I have no problem with that. But when you've seen what I have, sometimes the truth is better left unknown.
In any case, let's hear your testimony. Tell us about the plan that was carried out that night.
The whole plan began with my death. A stupid plan hatched by Morgan Fay to install her own daughter as the next master. But for it to work, Maya Fay would first have to die. The idea was for me to kill Maya and then have the blame pinned on Iris. The plan went wrong, but it seems to have succeeded anyway.
So that means you really are...
Wait a minute! Did you just say the plan was to kill Maya Fay? Yes. You have a problem with that? Don't give us that nonsense! There's no way that...
Watch yourself, trite. If you've got a problem, solve it during cross-examination. That's one of my rules. Mr. Godot is correct. And by the way, that's one of my rules as well.
To kill Maya? Could it be true? I mean, why wouldn't it be true? She wants the main branch done with, so she can take over. The whole plan began with my death. You were executed last month, correct?
Yes, I was hanged. It wasn't exactly pleasant.
How did you manage to discuss the plan? When did you talk with Morgan Fay?
Last year, she was transferred to the same detention center as me. Since I was on death row and she was my mother, it was actually pretty easy to meet with her.
I see. So that's when you discussed the plan?
Ha! Are you crazy? At first, that woman was planning to kill me as well, even though I'm her own daughter.
All to make Pearl Fay the master of Khura'in?
She's a cold, twisted woman. She thought she could finally regain her lost honor. The honor she lost when her younger sister, Misty, took her place as the master. Ever since that day, she's been working on this plan.
A plan, huh?
A stupid plan hatched by Morgan Fay to install her own daughter as the next master.
You're talking about Pearl Fay, is that correct?
Yes, though at first she had high hopes for the two of us.
You and your twin sister, Iris.
That's correct. Fortunately, neither of us had much spiritual power. That's why we were abandoned by her, along with our father.
Abandoned?
The only person I ever really cared about in life was myself. My sister was a nuisance, so I convinced my father to leave her at an old temple.
You mean Iris?
Yes, my father remarried a woman who also had a daughter. The less children you have, the more money there is to go around, right? And on top of that, my father had absolutely no interest in children in general.
How horrible.
The really horrible one was that woman. That bitter, vengeful woman. It was her stubbornness that gave birth to that child, Pearl Fay. She was born with an abundance of spiritual power, unfortunately for her. Morgan Fay heaped all of her broken hopes and dreams onto that poor child's back. All because of her pathetic dreams of having her bloodline become the main family.
Maya would have to die, but why?
For our bloodline to succeed as the main family, thus making Pearl the new master. The remaining descendants of the current master had to be taken care of.
But Pearls would never agree to a plan like that. She adores Maya.
How sad. You still don't get it, do you? What Pearl wanted had nothing to do with it. Morgan didn't care one bit about Pearl. The only thing she cared about was the position of the master. That's all.
That's ridiculous.
She was willing to sacrifice anything and anyone to achieve her goal. The life of her daughter, and naturally the life of Maya Fay as well.
How could anyone do that?
The idea was for me to kill Maya and then have the blame pinned on Iris.
You? You were going to kill Maya?
Pearl didn't need to know anything about it. All she had to do was follow the instructions in the letter and channel me. Then I would have simply used her body and finished the job. In any case, I'm already dead, and there's nothing any of you can do to me.
So the plan was to blame the crime on your younger twin, on Sister Iris of Hazakura Temple.
She and I look absolutely identical. No one can tell us apart. If someone were to witness me killing Maya, naturally they would think it was Iris that had done it.
And the witness in this case was the head nun, Sister Bikini.
I never would have guessed she was going to return to Hazakura Temple that night. But she wound up seeing Iris's crime anyway.
But why did you want to pin the murder on Iris in the first place? She's your twin sister, isn't she?
Twin sister? Don't make me laugh. She's nothing but a backstabber. I couldn't care less about her.
Backstabber?
You just don't understand. You never will. Anyway.
You think the plan was a success?
You heard me. Just as that woman had hoped. Maya Fay is dead. Now the title of the master will pass on to Pearl Fay.
That's absurd! Maya is just... she's just trapped! Trapped inside the sacred cavern!
Really? You're as foolishly optimistic as ever, aren't you, my darling Feeny? Do you want to know the truth? Ever since we met, I've despised you. Your sniveling naivete and your pathetic faith in other people.
I just want to know one thing. What did you personally think of Morgan Fay's plan?
I told you already, didn't I? It was a stupid plan. It had no point, no value other than fulfilling her own greedy desires. Yes, it was certainly nothing to be proud of. If that's how you feel, why did you help her carry it out? Why would you do it? Why would you kill Maya? You may not understand it, being the kind and gentle soul that you are. You may not be able to appreciate why someone like me would help a woman like that. So then tell me, why? Isn't it obvious? I'm not like that woman. I only act in my own self-interest. The reason I helped her was for myself. For my own personal satisfaction. What did you say? So this woman, Dahlia Hawthorne, she had her own reason for wanting Maya dead? Obviously, it's because you were helping Morgan Fay. Helping? Don't make me laugh. From the day I was born to the day I died, I never helped anyone. I lived for myself, and in the end, I died for myself. I thought that was obvious. So she wasn't actually cooperating with Morgan. She was just using Morgan in her plan so she could accomplish her own goal. All I wanted to do was kill Maya Fey. That was the only way I could think of to get revenge. Revenge? It looks like I have no choice but to present that piece of evidence. I can't believe it. She meant to kill Maya. I've got to keep a cool head. And I need to get more information out of her. It's the only way to understand this plan and what she was after as well. Your goal was to take revenge on Iris? Maybe? Huh. Present that piece of evidence. What is that piece of evidence? What is that piece of evidence? What is that piece of evidence? No, okay. I don't understand this, because, like, nothing she says is... provably false. I don't even sort of know what to do with this. Nope. Okay. I have to look this one up. I don't have the slightest clue what's going on with this. It's Attorney Episode 5, Bridge to the Turnabout. Let's see. Yes, bridge. Okay, are we at 4. Are we still at 4.1? Or did we go to 4-2? Let me check. Let me check. Oh, we're at 4-2. Okay. Okay. 4-2, excuse me, yeah?
press on all of the statements. Okay, did that. Do you understand why I want to go? Those who remember the first and fourth episodes in this game will understand why. Present Mia Fey's profile. Mia Fey. Why would you want to kill Maya as a result of Mia, then? That sort of revenge? Alright. But Mia's already dead, so, like, what do you think is gonna be an issue with that? Like, how would that affect her at all? Could it be that your actual goal had nothing to do with Maya Fey herself? As I said, none of you have the power to punish me anymore, because I'm already dead. Well, I had the same problem, you see. You can't punish the dead, and you can't take revenge against them either.
You wanted to take revenge on someone?
I was sentenced to die because of that woman, Mia Fey. I somehow knew this was it. I wanted to send her a message. It was at her hands that I suffered my first humiliation. I wanted her to feel the same pain she made me feel. Sadly, when I realized revenge was impossible, I gave up.
And the reason it was impossible? Was it perhaps because Mia Fey had already died?
Yes, and I realized there's only one way to take revenge against the dead.
And how do you do that?
Even when the body dies, the spirit, the ego, it lives on forever. I wanted to take away the person that Mia Fey loved most. I wanted to kill her with my own hands. That would be the one and only way I could take my revenge against Mia Fey. That was the reason I helped out with that woman's plans. Just for that? For that you would kill Maya? Your goal was no different than that of Morgan Fey.
As they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. What a cruel plan. Cruel, cold, and heartless.
Don't waste your time preaching to the dead. I've already told you there's not a thing you can do to me. Ugh. That night, at about 9:30 p.m., I materialized into this world. I quickly pinned my hair up and put on a demon-warding hood. Then I picked up the staff that was by my side and left Hazakura Temple. So, it was Elisa Donham who channeled her after all. That ridiculous head nun never noticed a thing. She left Maya Fey at the inner temple and wobbled back, clutching her poor old back.
What did you do then?
That kid was easier to handle than I had hoped. I caught up with her in front of the stone lantern. Then I took out the dagger I got from the storeroom and... So then you're saying you stabbed Maya? It's strange, but I don't have a clear memory of what happened after that.
What does that mean? No clear memory?
I don't know. I think I was stabbed. You were stabbed. At the last minute, Maya Fey must have stabbed me. I'm sure of it. That's not like her at all. Maya wouldn't stab a French fry with a plastic fork. Anyway, I suddenly lost consciousness. But before I did, I scrawled her name on the lantern. Just as I was passing out, I wrote Maya behind my back. I had hoped it would cast suspicion on her. I can't believe she was thinking of that until the bitter end. That's where my memory temporarily stops.
It stops?
I don't have any memory of actually killing Maya Fey with my own two hands. My very last memory was Maya's terror-filled eyes. When I woke up after that, I was in the sacred cavern surrounded by darkness.
You were in the sacred cavern?
The entrance was sealed with one of those trick locks. Somehow I had been trapped in there. Dude, Maya's channeling her right now?
But how did you wind up in there?
I'd like to know that myself. Anyway, I was worried. I didn't know whether or not Maya Fey was dead, and I swore I wouldn't return to the underworld until I knew I had killed her myself.
For a ghost, you're one tough cookie.
I wanted to get out of there and make sure she was dead, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't get out.
The trick lock stopped you, huh?
I didn't know how to remove it.
So then you're saying you were actually confined against your will inside this sacred cavern?
Yes, I wanted to get rid of that annoying lock as soon as possible, but it wasn't easy. I kept getting interrupted while I was working on it.
Interrupted?
It was early in the morning, but someone came into the training hall.
What? Who?
Could it have been Maya? I thought the same thing, but I couldn't see. Why not? If someone had spotted me, I would have lost my chance to take revenge, so I made sure to hide myself well at the back of the sacred cavern. That morning, only 2 people could have gone into the training hall. Maya and Pearls. Pearls went there to cover the hanging scroll in gravy. Still, I finally managed to remove the lock, but I was too late.
What do you mean by that?
The flies had already started to gather.
The bridge had been fixed and the police had started their investigation, correct?
Naturally, I couldn't go out. So instead, I returned to the cavern and put the lock back on myself. I realized I wouldn't get a chance to see Maya's corpse as I had hoped. But just then, Lady Luck showed up.
Lady Luck?
After that big earthquake, she showed up all by herself.
The real Iris?
She said she'd come to make sure the sacred cavern was all right. Stupid girl. I came out from the sacred cavern and got a feel for the situation. And I locked her away in my place. I had finally learned exactly what had happened. It was then that I learned that the plan had actually succeeded.
What do you mean your plan had succeeded?
I had misunderstood one thing, you see. That night, the one that had summoned me. I had assumed that it was Pearl Fay.
Well, of course you would have assumed that. It was written in the instructions.
But I was wrong. The person that had actually called my spirit back was Misty Fay, the picture book author.
What?
Well, that's really the only possibility, isn't it? After I lost consciousness in the garden. It was her body that was left lying there. Maya Fay. I wasn't able to kill her with my own hands after all. But even so, I made her commit the most vile sin a human can commit.
And that is?
Matricide. The sin of killing her own mother.
Ugh. No way! Order! Order in the court! What is the meaning of this?
It's true that I was the one who attacked Maya Fay. But even so, the murderer who actually snuffed out Misty Fay's life was none other than your darling little Maya.
Ridiculous! That's nonsense!
Are you sure about that? Just think about it. There's even evidence supporting these facts, isn't there?
What? What do you mean? What is this so-called evidence?
The fact that Maya Fay has disappeared is evidence enough, isn't it?
Huh?
The idea that she's still in the sacred cavern is just ridiculous. She wasn't able to escape from the inner temple, that much is obvious. In that case, there is only one place she could be.
Where?
Do I have to spell it out? The bottom of the Eagle River, where else?
Eagle River?
Maya Fay killed her long-lost mother. Can you imagine the guilt she must have felt when she realized that? That's why she threw herself into the Eagle River. Most bodies that wind up in there are lost forever. Yeah, no, sorry. You guys are really hanging on to the fact that I wouldn't guess that Maya's the one channeling you right now. But it's pretty obvious. So, what do you have to say now, Feeny?
Oh. Oops. Sorry, that's my phone.
What kind of ringtone is that?
Godot here. Okay, thanks. Was it something important? They just finished removing the locks from the sacred cavern.
That's great! What about Maya?
There was a woman in the cave. Was it Maya Fey? It was the accused, Sister Iris.
Huh?
Don't look so surprised. I locked her in there yesterday. I just finished telling you that.
So, what about Maya? Where is she?
There was no one else found inside the sacred cavern.
No, it can't be.
I told you, didn't I? She's dead.
No. No, no, no!
It seems that this case has come to an end. A tragic end.
And that's gonna do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.